Show me your warm-up, and I'll show you your gains and your joints' health. Caring for your body is more than just aesthetics or performance. It's a foundation for long-term physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Without proper upkeep, stress, fatigue, and injury accumulate. A good warm-up before lifting is a critical, often overlooked piece of that self-care puzzle. Prepares muscles, joints, and the nervous system for heavier loads, reducing injury risk. Improves mobility, blood flow, and awareness, allowing better technique. Signals to your body and brain that now is the time for work, improving activation and focus. Bridges the gap between rest, or sedentariness, and intensity, smoothing the transition. In the context of holistic health, a warm-up is part of daily respect for your body, a small act that pays dividends in consistency, resilience, and longevity. Throughout this article, our script, I'll also interweave why self-care matters, beyond training, how neglect manifests, and how to prevent the cascade of health decline. Even before the barbell comes into play, many lifestyle factors degrade your base capacity to benefit from training. Some common causes: poor nutrition and nutrient deficiencies. If you're underfeeding or missing vitamins, minerals, your muscles, connective tissues, and recovery suffer. Sedentary lifestyle, lack of movement. Sitting too much stiffens joints and muscles, impeding your ability to warm up properly. Chronic psychological stress. High cortisol, sympathetic overdrive reduces recovery, predisposes to injury, and blunt your movement quality. Inadequate sleep, insomnia, one of the biggest brakes on performance and repair. Substance use, poor hydration, toxin exposure, alcohol, smoking, dehydration, or pollutants weaken tissues, slow nerve conduction, and hamper circulation. Ignoring joint health for mobility. Over time, stiff or imbalanced joints limit safe movement ranges and increase injury risk. When your baseline is already stressed or worn, a warm-up becomes even more important, and also more delicate. You'll need to be cautious, personalized, and attentive to what your body says. When self-care is neglected, many pathologies can emerge over months to years. Metabolic disorders, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, obesity, overweight complications, dyslipidemia, atherosclerosis, musculoskeletal degeneration, joint pain, osteoarthritis, tendinopathies, disc problems, chronic inflammation states, which predispose to many chronic diseases, poor mental health, depression, anxiety, chronic stress, impaired immune function, frequent infections, poor recovery from injury or a single traumatic incident, turning chronic because even your warm-up quality depends on your tissues, nerves, and systemic health. Neglect in any domain raises your risk of pain, injury, or underperformance. Before things get bad, your body often signals distress. Watch for persistent stiffness, especially in shoulders, hips, spine. Mobility restrictions, can't touch toes, limited overhead reach. Joint crepitus, cracking, popping, soreness or discomfort even at rest. Sluggishness or difficulty warming up, feeling dead at the start. Muscle tightness, knots, persistent tension, recurring muscle strains, joint niggles or soft tissue injuries, longer warm-up time needed just to wake up. Fatigue, low energy, brain fog, sleep disturbances, mood swings, elevated resting heart rate or blood pressure. If your warm-up is failing you, takes too long, you feel beat up even before lifting, it's a red flag your body is under strain. What makes a good warm-up, and which types are best? Before diving into which warm-up is best, let's break down what a warm-up should accomplish. A strong warm-up typically includes general raise, light cardio or movement to elevate heart rate and increase overall circulation. Dynamic mobility, or movement prep, controlled movements through joint-friendly ranges, leg swings, arm circles, inchworms, banded work. Muscle activation, neuromuscular priming, lighter sets, isometrics, banded glute work, scapular activation, core bracing. Specific warm-up sets, working up gradually into your lifting loads, using submaximal sets to prime motor patterns. You can think of warm-up styles like a hierarchy of specificity. Generic, broad warm-up for general training days. Joint or region-specific warm-up, e.g. shoulder complex, hips, ankles. Lift-specific ramping, technique sets, light versions of the movement you're about to do. Which is best depends on context, your mobility, the lift, your state that day. But let's compare some common approaches. A. Simple walk plus mobility plus ramp sets, 5-8 minutes of brisk walking, skipping, or cycling. Dynamic mobility, e.g. leg swings, world's greatest stretch, banded T-spine rotations. Turn to 4, progressively heavier warm-up sets before your working sets. Pros, low barrier, effective for most gym goers. Cons, may not address specific muscle activation or deficits. B. Dynamic movement flow plus activation plus ramp. Begin with a short movement flow, e.g. yoga-inspired sequences, flow drills. Then do targeted activations, bands, glute bridges, scapular pulls. Ramp sets as usual. Pros, more thorough, better at waking up weak links. Cons, takes more time. You may overdo if not careful. C. Mobility plus isometrics plus activation plus ramp static or loaded mobility holds, e.g. mid-hold in a squat, split stance isometric. Activation via isometrics or banded holds, then ramp into working sets. Pros, useful when joints need stability or when mobility deficits are known. Cons, may be more fatiguing or slower if misapplied. Contrast, dynamic, ballistic, plus ramp, advanced. Some lifters use contrast sets, dynamic movements, e.g. jump squats, or ballistic movements before heavy training. Then ramp pros, can wake up explosive potential. Cons, higher risk, less suited for beginners or unprepared joints, integrating warm-up with self-care and health. The warm-up doesn't exist in isolation. Its quality is deeply tied to your self-care practices. Nutrition and hydration. Dehydrated or undernourished tissues respond slower. Warm-ups feel harder. Sleep and recovery. Poor recovery leads to stiff joints, slower nerve conduction, and more soreness. Mobility, flexibility habits. If you neglect mobility outside of lifting days, your warm-ups must compensate, or you'll always be behind. Stress and nervous tone. High sympathetic drive or chronic stress can make warm-ups feel labored. You may need extra breathing, joint resets, or calming activation. A warm-up is an investment. The better your baseline health, the more effective and efficient your warm-up can be. Treatment, remedies. If warm-ups are failing or you're seeing warning signs. If your warm-ups consistently feel rough, slow, or painful, take action. Dial back intensity on the training day. Use lighter loads, reduce volume temporarily. Add joint mobility, soft tissue work, foam rolling, lacrosse balls, stretching, mobility drills on off days. Include corrective or prehab exercises, e.g. glute medius work, scapular control, ankle mobility, core stability. Use extra activation priming, more isometric holds, bands, light contrast sets before heavy lifts. Evaluate recovery. Lifestyle. Ensure you're sleeping enough, eating enough protein and micronutrients, hydrating well, managing stress. Seek professional help. A physical therapist, mobility specialist, or coach can diagnose movement limitations or imbalances. Deload or rest. Your body might need a break if warm-up is chronically deteriorating. The goal is not to endlessly warm up more, but to restore capacity so your warm-up becomes smooth again. Prevention. Self-care plan. Here's a daily to monthly self-care and warm-up support plan. Daily. Around training. Short mobility check-ins, e.g. 5 to 10 min morning joint flossing or stretching. Gentle movement, micro breaks if you're sedentary, standing, walking, dynamic mobility. Pre-training breathing reset, 3 to 5 deep diaphragmatic breaths. Warm-up plan, general raise, mobility flow, activation, ramp sets. After workout, cool down, light stretching, fascia work, foam roll, bands. Weekly dedicated mobility, flexibility session, e.g. yoga, targeted stretching. Soft tissue, massage, myofascial work. Active recovery day, walking, light cardio, movement. Monitor soreness, joint discomfort, progress of warm-up efficiency. Monthly, quarterly. Mobility, movement assessments, ankle dorsiflexion, hip internal rotation, shoulder overhead reach. Reassess whether your warm-up is taking too long or causing fatigue. Update warm-up protocol, drop useless drills, add or remove activations. Rest/deload week to recover tissues. By doing this, your warm-up becomes a reliable part of your training, not a drag or constant struggle. Early training lore. Ancient systems, martial arts, classical gymnastics traditions all had built-in movement progressions, from loosen-up drills to full exertion. Modern sports science. Over decades, researchers have shown that warm-ups help increase muscle temperature, nerve conduction velocity, joint fluid viscosity, and muscular activation, all of which reduce injury risk and increase performance. Dynamic versus static debate. For a time, static stretching was standard. Now, dynamic and movement-based warm-ups are favored before resistance training because static stretching, if held long, can temporarily reduce strength output. Contrast, post-activation potentiation. Advanced warm-up strategies, using lighter explosive sets before heavy work, have empirical support in power sports for improving acute performance, but these require strong baseline readiness. Preventive medicine and movement culture. In recent decades, the health and wellness world has re-emphasized movement prehab, pre-injury therapy, as part of preventive care, integrating mobility, activation, and movement quality before going heavy. In short, warm-ups evolved from tradition to scientific validation, and now they're central to smart training, not an afterthought. Consequences. If warm-up movement preparation is ignored, higher risk of acute injury, muscle strains, tears, joint sprains, accumulated microtrauma, chronic tendinopathies, joint degeneration. Poor movement patterns becoming ingrained, leading to dysfunction. Slower progress. Stalling due to suppressed performance. Greater soreness, fatigue, and longer recovery demands. Possible ruptures, disc injuries, or overuse syndromes, frustration, inconsistency, or quitting, which undermines all health goals. Simply put, skipping or doing a half-hearted warm-up is like driving a car hard without checking your tires, fluids, or alignment. Eventually, something fails. Choosing the best warm-up before lifting isn't about a single formula. It's about designing a warm-up that suits you, your mobility, your recovery capacity, your training day, and your long-term health. Whether you start with a simple walk, plus mobility, plus ramp approach, or layer in activation and isometric work, consistency and listening to your body matter more than any rigid protocol. Over time, a smart warm-up becomes your body's partner in resilience, reducing injuries, improving performance, and preserving joint health for decades. Start small, refine with feedback, and treat your warm-up as an act of self-care. The better your body is prepared, the more confident, powerful, and injury-resistant you become. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and does not substitute professional medical advice. Always consult a qualified health professional, physical therapist, or certified trainer before beginning any new training or warm-up program, especially if you have pre-existing injuries or conditions.